Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Erin, aka Faye Fire, and this is my channel here. And today we are back to discuss season 3 of Yellowjackets, which should be coming out in early 2025. And today there was a big article from Vanity Fair that was dropped that has a lot of really great details. Season 3 has been kept really tightly under wraps by the show creators, by the actors, and everyone that's involved. So we finally got a little bit of a peek into what we should expect from season 3, plus some really wonderful new photos of the actresses in the show. So I definitely want to just kind of spend some time getting caught up and going through all of those and sharing that with you guys. So I did post them up in my community tab on my channel if you guys got a chance to see those there, but otherwise we'll be going through all of them right here in the live stream. So if you are here watching live, hello, welcome to the chat. Thank you for being here. It's so nice to be back with you guys. It's been a while since we've gotten caught up, but we won't be hungry for much longer. Yellowjackets should be here early 2025, and there's so much to look forward to and so many big changes. So let's briefly just kind of talk about where we left off at the end of season 2, because there were some big events that took place. I rewatched the finale episode a few days ago, so I feel a little more refreshed on it, and I was really sort of I needed a brush up on it. Really, I kind of forgot some of the stuff that had happened. But basically, season 2, we know, took place throughout the winter season. It was very harsh. It was very difficult for the girls to survive. Season 2 was just such a dark um, picture. It was so dark into what they were experiencing, especially with Shauna and her baby, and just the lack of food and the isolation. And it's a hard thing to go through winter in the north in general, but when they had like no food, they were unable to find anything when they were out hunting, so it was a really scarce situation and really a dark couple of months that we had a view into. So season 3 is taking place in the spring and summertime, so we're going to have a complete contrast to that. And one of the things that has been said is that season 3 is sort of a return back to season 1, where there's a little more adventure, fun, maybe just more lightness because it's a summertime environment, which, there's just more opportunity to find food, to find, berries, to, do foraging and that kind of thing. And you're not just sort of trapped in the cabin. But not only that, at the end of season 2, the cabin actually burnt down. By whose fault is still a bit of a mystery. I think most of us believe it was Coach Ben who burnt the cabin down, but there are people who speculate that it may be someone else. It may have been Javi's mystery friend, or we still never found Crystal after she fell off the cliff. Her body just disappeared. We don't know if animals dragged it off, if she somehow survived. We don't really know exactly what happened. But Crystal the Pistol, RIP, or maybe we'll see ya soon. Little forest sprite. So, and then of course the Queen of Hearts tradition was sort of developed at the very end of the season, in season 2, because they needed to do a hunt. Basically, Lottie was really severely injured and she was dying and she needed some strength, and they knew they needed to find some food. So basically they voluntarily did a sort of lottery system, and it was actually Natalie who drew the Queen of Hearts card and was selected to actually be the one to be sacrificed. But during that sort of hunt, Javi happened to fall through the lake, and so his life was sacrificed, so they ended up eating of Javi in the finale. So a lot of really crazy stuff kind of took place. And so we're going to see in season 3 how everyone's going to be dealing with that, how Travis might be dealing with the loss of Javi, or even just how he was reluctant to eat Javi, but it was Van who sort of convinced him and was like, let your brother save you in this situation. Don't let him die in vain. So there's a lot to contend with, a lot of emotions. And then, of course, in the adult timeline, a lot went on as far as going to Lottie's compound. The girls had a hunt of their own, or the women at this point. And Lottie sort of came out of her, I guess we might say, a clouded state where she believed that none of that had happened. Their wilderness experience did not happen. And so once she kind of came out of that and realized that the other women actually, it was real, then they kind of went a little hard. And unfortunately, Nat ended up being killed, and Lottie is being taken to back to the mental institution. We really don't know what they're going to do to her. We saw how her first experience was with that after she had returned from the wilderness as a young woman, and they ended up doing electroshock therapy and all kinds of things that really suppressed her instincts and her memories and convinced her that what they had experienced was not real. So will they do the same kind of thing in season 3? Is Lottie going to go through those same kind of experiences? And are the other women, are they just going to allow her to be left behind in this mental institution? Is really up for debate. Hey, Wild Marjoram, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming to the chat. And anyone else who's watching, feel free to drop a hello in the chat. And thanks for being here for the live stream. So that's kind of the recap of season 2, or the ending of it, and what we kind of left off with. Now, we also have the question of the bonus episode, as it was called, the Cabin Daddy special, as we lovingly refer to it. So who is Cabin Daddy? Well, Cabin Daddy was dead cabin guy that was found in the cabin when the girls found it back in season one. And they so there were rumors that there was going to be a bonus episode between seasons 2 and 3 that was telling Cabin Daddy's backstory. So we were going to learn some of the details of what had happened when he was there. And obviously he had an untimely death. But there were some things that were left out of season 2 that kind of also give us some more hints to Cabin Daddy's identity. And one of those things that I felt was really important was it was cut from, I want to say, episode 6 or 8. Anyways, Van, hang on, I have the notes somewhere. Oh, over here. So Van had basically, after Shauna decided to go bury her baby, Lottie tells Van that she needs to clean the cabin. She has cleansing energy. And we know that Van is associated with fire. She's had like these near-death experiences involving fire and these very close encounters. Obviously, she's a redhead, so that sort of fire imagery going on. And so she's the cleansing fire. She's the, that cleansing energy. And so Lottie asks her to stay behind and to clean the cabin, clean the bedding where Shauna had been, so that she doesn't have to come back and see all of that. And so what's written in the script, and it was cut, it's from episode 208, so season 2, episode 8. It says, as she, Van, moves a heavy piece of furniture, she is surprised to find a yellowed, dusty sheet of paper underneath. This is a Yellowjackets episode 207 final script. Okay, sorry, let me skip that part. Okay, it is from a page from the wife's manuscript in episode 207. Intrigued, so that means there was more cut. Van reads out loud, Though I still miss my baby desperately, I am beginning to accept a greater wisdom than my own. I think it lives here in the wilderness. It is the wilderness. And there's comfort in the fact that none of this was ever up to me at all. So the Cabin Daddy special, as we lovingly call it, the special episode, that the bonus episode, excuse me, that was supposed to be centered around Cabin Daddy and his experiences and what had happened in the past, a sort of view into the past. And we really don't even know like what time frame he was there in. There were some photos which I have shared in the past, and I'm not going to try and pull them up right now, of which was Melanie Linsky's husband, Jason Ritter. And he's also an actor. His father was an actor. And there were some photos of him with a baby. Now, granted, Melanie Linsky and they have a baby together, who was relatively young at the time. So it was probably holding their baby, but they were on set. He's wearing the coat that is very significant that they have out in the wilderness, that that Travis and Nat, they sort of share when they go out hunting, that plaid jacket with the fur lining. And so that's what he's wearing in the photos that we've seen. So we suspect he's playing Cabin Daddy and that there will be a backstory to this. That's a lot of speculation. I mean, obviously, we don't have a lot confirmed. We know there is going to be a bonus episode. And I'm starting to think that, knowing that season 3 is coming early 2025, we should be expecting the bonus episode really soon. I'm guessing in December. That's my educated guess. I've always felt they were going to put it closer to season 3, but they tend to like kind of do some holiday things. Like obviously they released this article today on Halloween. And in the past they've done like just things around holiday periods of time. So anyways, if you watch the candle melt, if you know what I'm talking about, the real ones do. So, so, so that's kind of what we should expect. The bonus episode coming really soon. I'm guessing in December, as sort of a little holiday special for us, the best holiday special. Hello, Mrs. Duncan the Tall. Thank you for being here in the chat. And it's awesome to see you guys. Thank you all for watching this. So, all right. So let's take a little step back in time. We're going to just briefly, actually, no, we're just going to skip that part. That was like, okay, so Ashley Lyle I had some notes, some commentary from last year, but since we have this Vanity Fair article, we're just going to refer to that because it's the most up-to-date information that we have. So let's talk about it. Let's get into the article. And I think I can share this tab with you guys. Let me just double check over here. Okay, you guys are seeing it. Let's just read through the article together. It's not a super long one. So, Yellowjackets is ready to answer those big questions now. Yellowjackets co-creator Ashley Lyle takes Vanity Fair inside the making of season 3, teasing everything from a merging of the characters' teen and adult selves to the resolution of several long-standing mysteries. This season is really when we start bringing those pieces together. So let's go ahead. We'll read through it, and there are some questions and answers with Ashley Lyle, and this should be awesome. I'm excited to get caught up with you guys. So there's not a lot that Yellowjackets co-creator Ashley Lyle can say about the 3rd season of her Emmy-nominated drama series, but she does want to make one thing clear. Answers are coming. It's the kind of tease fans are no doubt hoping for as Yellowjackets revs up for its return to Paramount early 2025. The gripping series, which weaves between 2 timelines in its portrait of a group of teenage girls stranded in the wilderness and the aftermath decades later, ended its season on a string of juicy cliffhangers. The adult version of Natalie died at the inadvertent hand of Misty, sacrificing herself to save her new friend Lisa, while the rest of the women faced an uncertain future after planning to have their estranged peer Lottie committed. The teen version of Natalie, meanwhile, is named the new version of new leader of society in the wilderness, just as the girls' cabin is set on fire, forcing them to evacuate without a shelter or plan. All right, so let's scroll through. Well, let's just look at these real quick since we're on it. So we've got these beautiful photos. I will pull up the other versions, the standalone. But sorry, I'm clicking around. So we've got Shauna, younger and older Shauna, in this sort of beautiful, I love this, Melanie like staring off. It's like super like 80s, uh, you know, whatever. Anyway. Okay. And then of course, younger Shauna, what is she wearing? She's wearing the butterfly shirt. That was Jackie's. So, all right. Coming off of a breakout first season that saw Emmy nominations for Best Drama and several cast members, Yellowjackets drew a more polarized, if still fervent, response for its sophomore year. The show has now cleared the lanes in both past and present, with Shauna, Van, Thaisa, and Misty tenuously reunited for a fresh start. At the same time, long-standing mysteries, what happened, the fates of certain characters, and the lingering question of how or if supernatural forces factor into the show's events may at last be resolved. Okay. So Lyle says that season 3 will realize much of the vision for the show that she and her co-creator Bart Nickerson, who's also her husband, developed at the very outset. This includes the merging of the characters' teen and adult selves, as shown in these evocative first look portraits. Some of it is really character based, some of it is more literal, Lyle teases. In each image, clues lurk as to what's next for our deeply damaged heroes. And I do want to discuss that because I do think there are some hints in these. So we'll scroll through the photos right now, but I do want to, there was a couple that I definitely wanted to focus in on and kind of draw attention to. So, okay. Some of it is really character based, some of it's more literal. Lyle teases. Oh, okay, we did that. Okay, below, Lyle digs deep without giving anything. Okay, tra-la-la. So, first question, set up season 3 for us as best you can. What's the big picture idea you went into it with? And this is Ashley Lyle, when we were initially coming up with the idea for the show, Bart and I spent hours and hours just coming up with the concept and the characters. The two timelines always felt like the linchpin in the show for us. When we first thought about it, we had specifically latched onto a broad, big concept of the girls' soccer team and the survivalism and all of that, but it didn't quite feel enough to us. It was when we thought, what if we did two timelines and we showed the past as present as something that's very vital and real and visceral, and that's what made the show for us. This season is really where we start bringing these pieces together. That was always the plan. It was very satisfying to have elements of this season that were planned from the very beginning. I cannot get into specifics. I wish I could, but there are a couple of big things in this season that were in the very initial pitches before we even took it out to networks that we finally got a chance to execute and to play out. The satisfaction of having something in your brains for that long and finally having it come out to pass is very exciting. I'm really excited about that. So we are going to be seeing a lot of the big picture plans that they had in mind when they were, formulating the show, and how it's all going to finally kind of start to come together, and what the weave is going to be, how the stories are going to merge, and how it's going to start kind of coming to its climax, right? The climax of the story. So, okay. Next question. We're introducing season 3 a bit differently here, with portraits that align the two timelines versions of the characters. What should we take from them when thinking about where the story is going? For each of these pairings and for each of the characters, the merging or overlapping of the past and present happens in a very different way. It's very specific to the characters. I have to choose my words so wisely. Sorry. So they are still keeping a lot of this stuff really tightly under wraps. In certain cases, that overlap is actually quite literal in a way. In others, it's a demonstration of a past and present character that may have seemed quite different and quite different, how that young adult came to the person they are. The person that they are, even as an adult, really is an echo or resonance of the person they used to be. We love to play with that idea in some ways. You are who you are. My dad used to always say that. I think back to the person I was when I was 17 years old and how I don't feel that different. I know I'm different, but in a lot of ways I don't feel different. How do you change while you're in your core, in your essence, the same person you always were? How much are you hiding that? How long are you able to do that is a question that we're playing this season. So we have these beautiful photos of Sophie Thatcher as Natalie. We'll get it. We'll talk about things. Okay. Can you talk about Nat a little bit in that context? She does not have an adult counterpart going forward. So Ashley tells her is an isolation and a heartbreaking loneliness to these photographs. But in thinking about it, and this maybe is going to sound very dark, but that's all of us, isn't it? We all have a future self who has died, and we don't know how that's happened, and we don't know why it happened. We don't know what's going to happen. But that doesn't make who we are now less vital. In our minds, that's also Natalie's story. She has a lot of life to live and a lot of story to tell. And the fact that there's a future self that met a tragic end is really the most universal thing that we probably do on a television show. In approaching her character this season, we never once write or view Natalie's character. The answer was just universally no. We love her character. She has a huge part to play in the 25 years that we haven't seen. But there's something really emotionally and philosophically heartbreaking about the position that she's in. It speaks to me of an existential dread that we are all alone, awaiting our fates. Well, all right. So we might get to see where Natalie kind of descends into like that darkness. I mean, she's always kind of had that darker nature to herself, or sort of, she's a little bit of a goth kind of girl, a little. But yeah, it's interesting. It should be interesting how they elaborate on that. Okay. So, next question. You've been open about what it felt like to take in feedback on season 1 after it really broke out before starting in on season 2. How did you absorb the reaction to season 2 before starting to work on the 3rd season? So, audience feedback is overwhelming on any front, whether it's the extremity with some fans who have connected with the show, who there are costumes, there are tattoos, there are people who have watched it over and over again. Is she talking about me? Or on the other side, of course, there are criticisms, there are expectations, and there are people who had an idea of where they wanted things to go, and maybe it didn't go in that direction. And that's natural and to be expected as well. Season 1 was a vacuum. Nobody knows what it was. There were no expectations. Season 2 was quite overwhelming going into it, knowing that there were people who had hopes and dreams and expectations for the show. Some people loved it, and some people did not like it as much as season 1. You can't functionally and practically do much of anything with that because you have to make the show for yourself, for everybody involved, for the actors, and for everyone who's pouring their hearts and souls into it. And in a way, season 3 allowed us to come back to that just a little bit. Even talking to the actors at dinner last week, and there was a big cast dinner last week, they were saying that they felt really great about this season. In season 2, all of a sudden they got all up in their heads with the nominations and what could be. They felt this season they were making it for themselves again. And that's how we felt as well. Of course, you hope that people love it, but if you're trying to make something based on feedback, you're going to go a little insane, because that feedback is so wildly varied. So, okay. And next question, what can you tell us about where our leads, where they will end up season? Ashley says we're going to learn more about what happened in the wilderness that they are so afraid of coming out. We hope that it will be both satisfying and at times unexpected. Okay, so with that information now, well, we're going to get a little more into it, but let's finish this because there's only the last 2 questions. I think that we have found ourselves, and let me think of how to say this. Pause. The stakes are pretty high in the present day storyline, perhaps in a way that they did not feel in season 2, and that was really exciting for us to delve into. All right, last question. Are there any big overarching questions that the viewers have had over these 2 seasons that you feel comes to a clear answer this season? And Ashley says that there are at least 2 very big questions with very clear answers. Now, I have my on what those 2 things might be. If you guys have any thoughts about that, drop it in the chat because I'm think that those two events could possibly be. Let me get back over here. And back in 2023, Ashley Lyle did tell us, let me just read through this really quick. Okay. So and this was like right after season 2 had finalized. She said in kind of a larger text, I won't read through the whole thing, but she did say, are we going to get weirder? Probably. Will the fallout of Redacted's death affect our anti-heroes in a massive way? Will our girls struggle to survive against the elements and themselves? Get even down and dirtier? Do we still have to tell the story of Pit Girl? You betcha. So that's so we should expect the Pit Girl story to come to a head, hopefully, or at least some more details on that. Now, I have a theory on Pit Girl. I made a video about it. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to check it out, definitely take a peek at it. I have my own personal theory on that, but it should be interesting to see if this might be how something leading up to that point. Somehow, is this a Queen of Hearts situation like we saw in season 2 where they're drawing the card and that's how they are, choosing who is going to be sacrificed? Is that how Pit Girl is chosen? And who Pit Girl is still a mystery. So there, and then the second question, what do you guys think? What could that possibly be? There's a lot of mysteries like we talked about. Crystal, she just up and disappeared. Javi said that he has another friend. We know Coach Ben is like out hiding in Javi's little, tree cave situation. He's the hermit. He's on his hermitage. He's going through some things. So there's a lot. And of course, yeah, what do they feel so guilty about? And that was mentioned in the article. The one thing that the girls are, carrying all this guilt about, and we saw that going back to the pilot episode with Shauna and Taissa, when she says, is like, as if someone's digging out there, then we're effed. And I think that line is very significant. Considering pits and whatnot, pits. Okay, let me get caught up in the chat and just and then we will get into the next section of this because I do have some more exciting stuff, including some updates on the cast. So let me just catch up with you guys over here. Okay. Yes, it's been a little tough. And Mandy's microphone is down and out, but we will be getting situated. We'll be getting back to you guys for season 3 for sure. Okay. Will Nat have a funeral in season 3? Really good question. And that's a good question because we saw in season 2, the adult timelines seem to really pick up like immediately after where it left off in season 1 versus the teen timeline seems to have a bigger like time jump. And of course, if we are still in like the very if it picks right up in season 3 for the adults, then there's still the potential that one of my theories could be real, which is about Shauna. So I'm still holding on to that Shauna is pregnant theory. I'm holding on to it with all life. Okay. Let's see. I want to know what happened to the political campaign. Girl, me too. Okay. I have a lot of thoughts. I mean, I did make a video. If you guys haven't seen my Dark Taissa video, Taissa is Brat. Definitely check that one out. I only got my entire channel suppressed for the entire year of 2024 for that baby. So definitely watch it. I hope they keep things under wraps. The show From is really being demystified by constant spoilers, even for the upcoming finale. What is up with that? With like shows right now where they're kind of taking the sort of mystical element, and instead of really like leaning into it and, you know, kind of keeping the vibe going, they just straight up, they're like, nope, this is actually what it is. And they did this in House of the Dragon. Sorry to go off on a bit of a tangent, but like with Helena, with her like prophetic abilities, and then they were just like, oh, actually, Aemond, this is exactly what I see. And then they like spoil the whole show. And it's like, why are you writing that way? That's not good. So let's really hope that they aren't doing that in season 3. No, I do have a lot of really I have high hopes for season 3 of Yellowjackets, and I'll tell you the number one reason why. Because when they went to go and write season 3, they met for one day. Okay, so season 2 is finished. They're like, okay, we're going to get to writing season 3. They come together. They have one day of work, one day of meeting. And then the very next day, the WGA strike started in Hollywood. So they couldn't do any writing after the strike started. And Ashley and Bart and Jonathan, they partook in the strike. They were out there, you know, picketing and that kind of thing. But they were, as part of the strike, as part of the writer's strike, they're unable to do any writing. Now, they might, I mean, granted, you know, Ashley and Bart are husband and wife, and I'm sure that they were brainstorming and this kind of thing. But as far as like putting pen to paper or what have you, having anything finalized or approved or, you know, officially stated as part of the script, that none of that happened in 2023 for several months. I think the strike went on for 4 months. So during that time period, they were unable to do any work on the series whatsoever. So they were totally halted. So I do think that that's good, though, in a sense. I mean, obviously, we have to wait longer for season 3 to come to us, but I do think that it gave them an opportunity, knowing that Ashley and Bart and Jonathan are the ones who are writing the show. It's their project, it's their baby, it's their, you know, heart and soul, that getting that extra 4 months and getting sort of the pressure taken off after season 2 probably gave them a really good opportunity to brainstorm and come up with like an excellent season 3 that, like they keep telling us, is going to have so many callbacks to season 1, which we know was just, I mean, so good, so perfectly written. Every line is just so like well thought out. And so like that's kind of my expectation for season 3. And not only that, so let's get into the next part of this. So as far as the information that we do have for season 3 and the episodes that are happening, the uh writers on episodes 301 and 303, those episodes were written by Bart Nickerson, Ashley Lyle, and Jonathan Lisco. And then the first episode of the new season was co-written by Bart Nickerson, Ashley Lyle, and Jonathan Lisco, and was directed by Bart Nickerson, who's making his directorial debut with the episode. And Jonathan Lisco will be making his directorial debut as well in episode 3. So episodes 1 and episodes 3, I have extremely high hopes for. I think we're going to have just some of the best episodes that we've seen of Yellowjackets, because Bart and Jonathan both got their chance to direct. They're leading the story. You know that they, even though they couldn't officially write it during the strike, you know that they were, you know, behind the scenes talking about things, brainstorming, coming up with ideas and all of that. So I have really high hopes for both of those episodes. And if not for no other reason than to just be like excited on behalf of Bart and Ashley and Jonathan. Like I'm excited to see it for that reason. So while we're on this note, we do have some more updates. There are some new cast members on the cast, obviously, and a couple of big names amongst them. So we have Hilary Swank is joining the cast. Joel McHale, who is a Canadian, and then also another actress named Evans Johnston and they are all joining the cast. Joel McHale and Hilary Swank are both featured in episode 1, so we can kind of start to contemplate what their role might possibly be in those, just kind of brainstorming, right? Okay, now let's see. Episode 302 is going to be directed by Billy Woodruff, and the writers are Rich Monahan and Amina Rosa. And then we do have in episode 3 also, the episode that Jonathan is directing, there is listed a guest star named Darby Steves, and she was formerly in Motherland, Fort Salem. I know a lot of people who watch Yellowjackets really like that show as well. I've only watched a couple episodes of it, but so we should expect to see her in episode 3. Episode 304 is going to be directed by Jennifer Morrison. You guys are probably familiar with her. She's an actress. I don't know how much directorial experience she has, but she was featured. She was what's her name? She in that show called Once Upon a Time. You know, they have like all the fairy tale characters. She's the daughter of Snow White and Prince Charming. I can't remember what her name is, but the blonde gal. So she will be directing episode 4 of season 3. And then episode 5 will be directed by Jeff Bird, and episode 6 will be Peter Chatman. So anyways, I just had all those notes. I wanted to make sure that we were kind of up to date what we can expect on those new episodes. I am really excited for the new cast members. I really don't know what their roles might be. So Hilary Swank, I'm sure we're all fairly familiar with her as an actress. I'm fairly certain she's won like Academy Awards and that kind of thing. There's a lot of speculation on who her character could potentially be. She including an adult character that may have not been introduced yet. Now, so we're going to get into kind of some spoiler territory or just kind of like speculation territory here. One of the characters that I have speculated if there was another adult survivor, because the reason that this is up for debate, that there could potentially be another adult character, is because when we see the pit girl scene and then they're eating, they have the feast, right? There are 8 people in total seated there. So there's the Antler Queen, and she has 3 individuals sitting on either side of her, plus there's Misty, who is serving food to them. So there's 8 in total that we see in that scene. My big theory is that they are rescued immediately, like after this, like the next day or within the next few days after this. So we potentially have about 8 people that may have been the survivors. And so there could still be another survivor. We know that we've had, like, Travis has died, but anyways, excuse me. So who that character could be. Now, my speculation on that, I've said in a couple of videos, I think it could be Melissa for mythology reasons, because her name and it's just kind of mythology things, which would take too long for me to explain right here. But if there was another surviving adult member, it could potentially be Melissa. And so some people are speculating that Hilary Swank could potentially play her in the adult timeline. My only doubt with that is that it was not mentioned at all in season 2 when all of the adult women were together. One would think if they're all together and like one of them was missing, they might say, "Hey, where's Melissa? Should we call Melissa and have her come out? You know, we're all here." But like nothing of that nature happened. So it's still it's a gray area. We don't exactly know what to expect. And we don't know who Hilary Swank's character is specifically. There was I don't think I have it saved. There was a photo. I'm not even going to look for it. It's going to slow my computer is really laggy right now. I need to do some stuff to it before season 3 starts. But there was a photo that was released that was by the dog. There's a dog in season 3. Obviously, Taissa apparently is getting another dog. What happened to Steve? Good God, we don't know. I'm scared. Pray for Steve. Pray for Steve. So there's another dog character coming into season 3. His owner or his handler had posted a picture which happened to be in front of a big board with a bunch of characters that are listed on it. There weren't really any crazy spoilers on it. Well, there were actually. That's a lie. That's a complete lie. But um but one thing that was listed on there that was a lot of orderlies and like doctors, okay? And they didn't show the pictures on those necessarily. So I do suspect that maybe like one of these new cast members could be playing a doctor role, especially considering that Lottie might have gone back to the mental hospital. But not only that, because Misty also works for a medical facility. She's, working in hospice care or something of that nature. So there's opportunity for on either side that we may see these like kind of new medical characters or something weird, maybe some weird stuff with Lottie. Who knows what kind of experience she's going to have, especially considering her past and her, history, her medical history, what they might do to her, as in compared to like what we saw in season 2 where she had shock therapy, and they kept her like, it was her dad was basically just like, do whatever you need to do to make her normal. Like, I don't want her abnormal. I don't want her being like, it's just making my life difficult. Her dad's a real garbage person, I think. And who knows, we might get more into that. I think that Lottie's dad might have been on the board. I'm not sure. I wish that I had that picture. I'm sorry. I know that Yellowjackets Hive podcast, they talked about that. They did a season 3 update and they talked about that photo. So if you guys want to check out their podcast, definitely do so. So, okay. Let me get caught up down here. And as far as same goes for Joel McHale. We don't know what his character might be. Now, if I were to speculate, and I love Joel McHale, I was actually super stoked to hear that he was going to be on the show. I'm from Seattle. I grew up in Seattle, so I've been watching Joel McHale like since I was a kid. He was on this Seattle comedy show that was called Almost Live, and I used to watch it like when I was a teenager, and he was on there, and then like he got on Comedy Central. I used to like love to watch comedy when I was a teenager. Comedy Central was like bumping back in those days. And so I was so excited to hear that he's going to be on the show. Not only that, like as soon like right after it was announced that he was coming on the show, I don't know if you guys know the comedian Adam Ray, but he's fantastic. He's also from Seattle, and he did a whole routine. He did like a whole character, and his character that he did was named Jeremy, and he is obsessed with Joel McHale, and he's wearing a Joel McHale shirt in like all these stand-ups. And then he like did an interview with Joel. I mean, I'm sorry, I know I'm off on a tangent, but like I love it. I love it. I'm super excited to see Joel McHale. Now, he is a bit of a comedian. Obviously, he has more of a sarcastic comedy vibe about him. And so I have a feeling that, I've never seen him in a serious role. I'm sure he could pull it off, but he's naturally more of a funny actor. And so I have my suspicions on who he could potentially be. Now, I suspect that maybe he's a medical employee, again, like somebody that's a little bit funny. But I also suspect he could be a cop, like another a cop to kind of replace Kevin's role. He has a little bit more of that comedic timing that might work well off of the other cop. I can't even remember his name. The one that we all hate, cop douche magoosh, officer douche magoosh. What was his name? What was that cop's name? Kevin's partner. Anyways, we remember. I think we all like blocked him out. We really didn't like that guy. He was not a great character. So I would love to see if they're going to do a follow-up to this like law situation, which one would think. Now, we also have the idea that maybe it's going to go deeper. I mean, think about this. When Kevin was shot and killed, and they're all at Lottie's compound, they're there in pursuing Shauna. Now, whatever, like, obviously Walter felt like he had sort of resolved the Adam situation. I don't think it's that easy, Walter. It's not just that easy to like brush off a dead body and blame it on a cop. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's going to be more of an investigation, like an FBI investigation, into the girls and into what happened with them. There was a photograph that was released, a behind the scenes filming photograph where, yes, Officer Syracusa, a behind the scenes photo. And I'm sorry, I don't have all these photos right here in front of me, but it was a blacked out vehicle, like a van, like a police looking van, all black, that I'm trying to think of what exactly. If anybody remembers seeing this photo, tell me in the chat. It might have had FBI painted on it or not, but I have a feeling we're going to be getting into like some FBI investigation stuff going on with the girls. Like I don't think that the Kevin situation was just, wrapped up that easily. I think if anything, it made it even worse. Thank you, Walter. You made the situation a lot worse. So I I do think that that might be what we're looking at for season 3, that it's going to get even worse. And then we have like Thaisa and her politics and all of this. So it's like, how is that going to fit into this investigation? In fact, it would probably make it even more like juicy as far as the press, or maybe even Phil Bathurst or something of that nature. So I just have a feeling things are not going to get that much easier in the adult timeline for the girls. Now, maybe in the summertime for the younger girls, they might have a just fine time, but I don't think it's going to go so swimmingly for the older women. And then, okay, so last new character that we're expecting was Evans Johnson. I don't know who her character might be. It's a total mystery. This actress, she has played in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and she's a very beautiful woman. I'm wondering if my only suspicion on who she could potentially be is she might be like related to Jessica Roberts from season 1. Because that, again, was another one that just like fell off. Okay, that was awfully convenient. Nobody's looking for her. No one's asking questions, or, nothing of that nature. To me, Evans Johnson looks like she could potentially be like, she could play like Jessica's sister or something like that. So again, it's like all these things, all these loose ends might come creeping back up on the adult women who have been playing like fast and loose. And, going back to that scene in the pilot with Ty and with Shauna, and they're sitting there and they say, if anyone's digging, we're all effed. But then she also says, as long as nobody does anything, as long as none of us do anything too crazy, then it should be fine. Right? These are the two craziest of the bunch, mind you, Shauna and Ty. Oh, as long as we don't do anything too crazy. Those two go off the deep end real quick. So I just love that. I think it's so funny because the moment that they say that is like when they start acting really crazy. And then, what's going to happen when you're out in the wilderness and there's nobody like sniffing out your trail or seeing what happened, that's one thing. But when you're in society and you're in real life and you're just like indiscriminately like killing people, and it's like people don't just get away with that all the time. You don't just like bury Adam's body in a park and then just, we're all good here, no. Some stuff's gonna come back around and bite you in the butt. So okay, Hello, Miss T. Thanks for being here. It's been a long time since we've seen you. Yes, where is the bonus episode? We were talking about that earlier. I suspect that it's probably, my suspicion is December. That's my spidey sense. I'm thinking it's going to be pre-Christmas, but post-Thanksgiving. Just saying. That's my opinion. Could be wrong. I usually am. So, all right. So that's about that for the season 3 updates. I think we've got most of the stuff kind of covered here. And drop any questions you guys might have in the chat. A really exciting thing from behind the scenes with the cast, Sammy Hanratty, who plays younger Misty, she's pregnant. So that's very exciting for her. She got married, I want to say in like 2023-ish. And I think after season 2, she had a bunch of the girls come to her wedding, and now she's pregnant, which is really funny because in season 1, Christina Ricci was pregnant while she was filming. So she's an older Misty. So it's just like the Misty curse. They are mothers. I guess it's not a curse. Motherhood's not a curse. It's a wonderful gift, and it's always joyous. Okay. I will be posting more videos. Wild Marjoram. I just needed a break after season 2 of House of the Dragon. I just needed a little break. I've never actually taken this long of a break from my channel, so it does feel a little strange. But I have a couple things I'm working on. I have like some House of the Dragon, like A Song of Ice and Fire projects, but I'm just not in the zone. I just don't really feel like working on them at this point. And I have noticed that views are down across the board for that genre of videos. And also my views were really down, and I kept getting demonetized and kept getting flagged and all kinds. I've had a rough year, and you guys know I've talked about this several times on my channel. It's been a rough year for my channel after I made that Thaisa video. But if you want to watch it, you'll know the reasons why. Or maybe you don't want to watch it because, I don't know, it's people don't usually like to hear my politics. But so I will be posting more videos. I am working on a Yellowjackets video that I've just kind of been like dragging my feet a little bit, kind of waiting for season 3. I think this will probably be like the inspiration that I need to kind of push through and get that ready for you guys. I might wait a little while to release it until we have maybe a trailer or a the Cabin Daddy special or something like that comes out, just so we have a little more buzz going on. So, okay, do you think that we will get a lot of answers this next season? Yes, I do. So we read through a Vanity Fair article that was just published today, where Ashley Lyle did confirm that 2 of the big mysteries of the series will get some concrete answers to those in season 3. And, we all have our suspicions on what those might be. I'm guessing Pit Girl, but I could be wrong. Okay. You don't think Hilary Swank could be playing Mari? No, I don't think I am a Mari denier. I guess you might say. I don't think Mari's getting out alive. I think Mari is going to die a very horrific death. There's just been way too much foreshadowing for it. And something's going to happen with her leg. Like, I think she's going to lose a leg or something with the leg. Mark my words. Oh, thank you. It is what it is. Yeah, it's been rough on a lot of people. And I actually have really strong suspicions that it's going to get a lot worse as far as censorship on YouTube goes, because the New York Times is writing, well, actually all like the YouTube's about to go under attack by the legacy media hardcore. They're writing major hit pieces on YouTube creators for political purposes, political creators on YouTube, but they are focused on what YouTube allows for people to say. So the censorship levels that are on YouTube and why people aren't censored. Now, the reason that they're writing this article is for political things, because they think that they basically want to censor people from speaking, political channels and that kind of thing. And that's what this article is about. But through the article, they are attacking YouTube in general, which either means, and YouTube's they're not gonna change. They're not gonna fight back. They don't do that. So what's gonna happen is censorship is going to get even worse based on who becomes president next. And I won't tell you my opinion on that, but probably some of you know it. Okay, and who do you think will die this season, if anyone? Well, like I said, Mari, but I don't think Mari. Okay, here's the thing. All right. Right now, there are a lot of people that are still alive on the show. And if we're supposed to get down to like 8 survivors, a lot of people are going to start dying really fast. So I suspect there might be some big traumatic events that might take the lives of several people, or perhaps, in the aftermath of the cabin burning down, perhaps some of the girl, like maybe off screen, we're going to hear, oh, XYZ died from exposure to the elements and that kind of thing, because the cabin burnt down. It's the middle of winter and they really didn't have any shelter to seek out, and probably not enough clothes and all of this kind of stuff. So they're in an even worse situation. So I do suspect that maybe from exposure, some people might perish. But yeah, like a lot of people are going to have to, in order for the show to like play out as we kind of have this idea that it will. I could be wrong about the entire thing. So but I suspect there will be a few, at least 1 or 2, I would guess, in season 3, right? I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me. Okay. Does Ben live to the present time? Is that one of the mysteries solved? Well, we don't know quite yet, and that's maybe one of the mysteries. Yeah. So what happens to Ben? Like obviously after the cabin burns down, like, are the girls going to realize that it was him that burned the cabin down? Or, and we don't even know for sure that it was him that burned the cabin. There are people that suspect that it was not him, that someone else might have done it. I do believe that it was Ben that burned the cabin down. It just like makes the most logical sense. But I don't know. So my kind of big theory is that Ben was left out there when the girls were rescued, because it would make sense as to like this immense guilt that they feel, right? If like he becomes the sort of natural enemy of the girls because of what he did, he left them. He already feels like an outsider. He doesn't partake in the cannibalism. He tried to get Natalie to leave with him. And so there's all these different circumstances that make him an outsider. And so what if when the girls were rescued, they left him behind? Or what if they didn't know where to find him? Or what if they even tried to find him to tell him, but he hides from them or something like that? I mean, we just really don't know. But I do suspect that the immense guilt that they feel that they're carrying could be related to that, because he doesn't come back with them. We don't see any indicators that it's him that's amongst the pit girl feasting scene or anything of that nature. So it's a good question. Does he live to the present time? I mean, imagine how like badass he would be, like a badass like forest dude that survived in the wilderness with 1 leg, no food, no cannibalism, living in a tree cave. Like, I mean, come on. That'd be pretty cool. Or the tree dweller person. Yeah. So we don't know. I mean, maybe he has a friend and he's like, "Oh, I'll just stay out here with you." I don't know. Okay, how big of a time jump do you think they'll have? So, we kind of briefly touched on this. There so for the girls, for the teen timeline, this is going to take place in the spring and summer. So obviously there will be a bit of a time jump, like a couple months, I'm guessing. It just kind of depends on like what point in the season that like the season of summer or whatever that we kind of start the show at. Will we get another like Doom coming? That's a good question because that would be really interesting. Um, as far as the adult timeline, now in season 2, it was just like it was a seamless, like it just picked right up between season 1 and season 2. Will they do the same from season 2 to season 3? I don't know. I hope that they do because I think there's just too much chaos going on in their timeline for them to do a time jump. Um, yeah, it would just leave a lot of like loose ends and questions unanswered. So I think that hopefully it'll be seamless. It's just going to pick right up. And if it does, there's still hope for a theory that I have about Shauna. Okay. They did say dueling tribes. So isn't there 8 of the Cannibal Council, but then another tribe? I don't know. I don't I don't know. Um, it's entirely possible, but um I don't know if if there is. I mean, it's entirely possible. Like maybe some of the people break off to go with Coach Ben. You know, maybe they don't want to partake. Maybe they fundamentally disagree with the hunting game or something like that. It's a good question, and it's something that we definitely suspected a lot going into season 2 that there was gonna be, like, a breaking off of tribes at a certain point. Um, I feel less inclined towards that as we go into season 3 just because of what happened at the end of season 2 and with the fire, and I feel like if they were setting that up, for the future, that we probably would have gotten some hints to that, some sort of like building of tension throughout season 2. And I just didn't really get that vibe. So I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, but it's entirely yeah. I just don't feel I don't know. I don't know. Hey AK, thank you for stopping in. Good to see ya. Thank you for stopping in. Yes, I think that the girls do want to kill Ben a lot. I think they will. Like what after like I guess it's really circumstantial because first of all, they would have just eaten. So they have some strength in them at this point in time. Ben burns the cabin down. He's gone. He's not partaking in their, traditions, their wilderness traditions and this kind of thing. So he is placed as an outsider. Then the cabin burns down. Now, are they going to realize that they were trapped, that someone burned the cabin down around them? That's a good question. Or are they just going to kind of like think, oh, maybe because they were all asleep when it happened. And so it's how they react in that initial moment is a good question. Now maybe they just don't want to dedicate the energy to like trying to track down this arsonist for wherever Ben might have gone off to or what have you, or maybe they just don't realize that it was an arson. Maybe they just think they were careless with the fire and something happened and it burned down. Like maybe they just don't think it was a malicious situation, and who knows. Like because we're jumping right into the summer, I just kind of feel like maybe that hasn't been a priority for them, to like seek revenge on him. But perhaps it'll be something that we see or something we discover throughout season 3 that, wait a second, you burned the cabin down? What? Like, like I feel like that's more likely to happen. So, um, let's see. I just feel Shauna and Ty will make their own tribe. Remember how Shauna pouted when Nat was chosen by Lottie? That's a really good point. And there is like some division between Nat and Shauna in the adult timeline. Remember when they first like come around each other, like in season 1, when Shauna comes to Natalie's hotel room, and that's the first time they've seen each other in, you know, who knows how long. And they are like vicious at one another. And even Ty has to be like, all right, that's enough. Like she has to like calm them down. So where that animosity comes from is still yet to be seen. Good point. Good point. I like it. Fair point. Because I do feel like if Nat, like if someone were to split off, yeah, like we would, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one a little bit more. Okay, yeah. How did they get through winter? We got to see that. I mean, that's a really good question. Like they are left without supplies, they're left without shelter, they're left without enough clothes. That's why I'm saying, like, if some people were gonna die, and you know, if you guys saw that movie on Netflix that they did, that was like the adaptation of the Andes plane crash that heavily inspired Ashley and Bart and Jonathan as they were writing Yellowjackets, about the soccer team who crashed in the plane and in the Andes Mountains. And there initially were like a large group of survivors, but then at a certain point, like I think an avalanche comes through and it ends up killing a whole bunch of them, like half of their survivors. And so like that's kind of what I'm kind of expecting, that we might see something of that nature where something really dramatic happens and all of a sudden it like takes out a large number of the group. Where there's nothing they can do about it, you know, whether it's a mudslide or a, you know, like we saw an avalanche in that movie. But since we're moving into like the spring and summer season, a mudslide might seem more likely, or you know, some sort of drowning situation or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity for death out there. But I do feel like, yeah, there's going to be some event where it's taking out like a number of them, because there are still a large number of them out there. And I don't think that Ashley and Bart and Jonathan are so short-sighted that they didn't think about that, about how they're going to narrow down the numbers. Like I'm sure that was actually a huge part of their formulation of this entire story, is how each character is going to die and who ends up in the cannibal council, right? So that's my thoughts there. um Good question. I mean, maybe if that's a tribal sort of, like if they end up splitting up into tribes, then maybe that's part of the division that occurs between them. Maybe they don't all want to, you know, partake in the hunt and in the drawing of the cards and that kind of thing. And maybe more and more of them will be more like Ben, where they're like, no, I don't have to do this, you know, in order to survive. And that would seem to me like that would be the thing that would divide the group, one would think. You know, I mean, it seems like cannibalism seems like a pretty firm red line there, you know. Will we get to see Nat as Antler Queen and how that evolves? That's a really good question. And I think that kind of goes back to the Pit Girl stuff. So my thought is, like with Pit Girl, you know, we saw that occurred in the winter. We know that the first, you know, the drawing of the card, that was in winter. So I feel like winter is going to be the time. Obviously it's more scarce, there's not the animals and the, you know, foraging the wild foods and that kind of thing that they have in the summertime. So it seems to me like if they were going to make this tradition of drawing the card and having someone be sacrificed, that winter time is going to be more of that time frame that they would do that thing, versus in the summer where there are more options. Like there's food running around, there's animals running around, there's berries and different like leaves and lichens and grasses and stuff that they can forage. So it seems less likely like they're going to need to eat one of their friends if it's summer, you know? We didn't really see that in season 1 because they didn't have abundance, but I have a feeling, and one of the things that Ashley Lyle said is that the girls are really in their element in season 3. They're thriving is what she said, I believe, quote unquote. They're thriving out there. So I think that by season 3 and the summertime, you know, they're in the zone. They know what they need to do. They know when they need to hunt. They know where to find berries. They know what they can eat. So they're going to probably all be way more focused on that than they were in season 1, where they were kind of like, well, are we going to be rescued, and kind of like dragging their feet and stuff. Now they know, like, no, every second counts. We can't waste any time like that. So, and then sorry. So will we get to see Nat as Antler Queen? So on that note, like, I don't think we'll have as much of a reason to see her as Antler Queen if they are thriving in abundance in the summer. Like if they are, you know, the Antler Queen is a symbol of death, right? She's associated with death, and we see her present at the Cannibal Council as sort of their leader, their queen, them taking direction from her. So there's that, you know, like I kind of think that she's more of a wintry presence. Kaliak vibes. We've talked about that. Anyhow. Okay. Misty seems to be the Antler Queen's right-hand girl. Did she do something to irk Nat in the past? And she did something to irk Nat in the past. Yes, she is. She's like her knight. I see Misty as like her Lancelot. Like, you know, she's right there with her and she's protecting her. And I think even in season 1, it's like the second that Natalie came back and she shows up at Misty's house in the adult timeline, like Misty was on duty that very second. She's following her around. She's going everywhere with her. She says, "Where are you going?" When Natalie was going to go and find Travis, she's like, "Where are you going?" "No, I'll drive you." You know, like she is her knight in shining armor. That is, you know, so anyhow. Okay. Are there animals? Didn't they say the animals left? Well, good. I don't know. Like, it's kind of strange because they did have the one good deer. They had a bear out there. And I also am like, why aren't they fishing more frequently out in the lake? So it's a good question. We'll see what sort of abundance they have in season 3. Because there was some, like, they just said that there weren't a lot of animals in that area. And so we have to kind of suspect why. Like, is it sort of an energy vortex that's out there, like where they landed? I mean, obviously, like for the supernatural things that go on, a lot of us suspect that there is some sort of energy going on there. There are places on Earth which are energy vortexes where animals won't go into those areas. It freaks them out. It throws off their equilibrium. Where compasses won't work in that area, or like in Oregon, there's a place in Oregon called the Oregon Vortex where it like throws off your balance, your like just the way you're seeing, like it plays optical illusions on you and that kind of thing. And animals won't go into that area. Like the Native Americans knew that area specifically as sort of like a cursed forest or something like that. And because animals wouldn't go in there. So maybe they happen to crash into that type of vortex. Like maybe that's what threw the plane off. I mean, we just simply don't know. But yeah, so that could be playing into that. Long story short. Okay. Maybe the wilderness gives them food since the cabin was sacrificed. That's a really good point. And let's not forget that story that Van tells the group where they're like, Van, tell us the story. This is in the season 2 finale where and she's telling the story of the cabin. So once upon a time there was the wilderness and it was lonely and it wanted a friend, so it decided to build the cabin and wait for friends to come. It waited and waited. And that's like the story that's like the last story that they tell. And so that's a really good point. Now they're really in it. Now they're really in the wilderness. It's not, they don't even have like the safety, the shelter of the cabin or like whatever it was, like it's a sanctuary or something of that nature. But yeah, so. Oh, well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I got stuck in a vortex in Sedona. Long story. Well, yeah, stuff like that'll happen there. Yeah, that's another area where there are like energy vortexes and different things that people believe that, I mean, are demonstrably true. Like the Oregon vortex, like your compass is not accurate. It just spins. And you've seen different things in like supernatural movies with that kind of energy. Yeah, I agree. Miss T, start fishing. I don't understand why they're not spending. They could be fishing in winter. I mean, they could ice fish. Just saying. But yeah, there's a lot of ways that I think that they're going to wisen up in season 3, where and especially because Natalie is now their queen, their antler queen, their queen of hearts. She is their leader. She is also the huntress. So one's going to assume if you have a leader who's also a hunter, your priorities are going to be finding food, because that was her job to begin with. But they also are going to probably be more protective of Natalie, more serving of her. And maybe they don't want to send her out to hunt because maybe it's dangerous or something like that. It should be interesting to see how this develops in season 3 because of Natalie's huntress like status, right? Because she is so important. And that's really the reason why the wilderness chose her, according to Lottie, is because she's the huntress. And when it comes right down to it, the huntress or the hunter is the most important person in your party because they're the one feeding you. Without them, you're going to starve. And so it should be interesting to see how the group at large kind of evolves after Natalie takes the lead, knowing her, hunter role. And maybe it'll be really good for them. Who knows? Maybe she'll be a fantastic leader, despite the fact that she's kind of our burnout character. But she does have the heart of gold. And I think that, we all recognize that in Nat. She is really the most selfless one out of the group. She's gone through kind of the most heartache and difficult situation, a difficult childhood, an abusive father and an addict mother. And, her father died really dramatically and just all kinds of stuff. So it's like, she's been through it and they all kind of treat her like, oh, you're such a burnout. You're this, you're that. But really at the end of the day, like she has a heart of gold. She is the most like, selfless one. She's the one that's going out there to feed the group. Sorry, I'm messing with my light and it's not helping anything. Okay. So yeah. So that's Natalie. I am really excited to see how she evolves. I will eventually, I want to work on a character profile video of Natalie specifically, just because, her adult counterpart died in season 2. But I kind of am waiting. I kind of want to see how season 3 Natalie sort of fleshes out. I'm kind of like, should I wait to write a character analysis until I really like have all pieces of the puzzle, or do I want to like kind of write it now with like what I have? So I'm kind of just waiting and see, but it's been something I've been taking notes on since season 2. So yeah. And then I'm also working on another project for season 3. That's about prophets. It's about Lottie and Thaisa. And then I will also I have notes here. Book club is still a thing. Sorry that I am terrible about making that video. But I do have a book club list going on. So eventually I will get to making that into a video. I'm thinking I might just do like something really quick, like read these, but like, I don't know, just a really quick, maybe even a reel. I'm not sure. You guys tell me. So, all right. Well, that's about that. I think we've talked about all we have to talk about for season 3. But thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And final question from Miss T. When do you think the season will start? It is starting in early 2025. We don't have the exact date, but early 2025. I'm inclined to guess like season 2 started in March. I want to say it was like the very beginning of March 2023. So I'm like, oh, maybe they'll do like the same, time frame. But of course, I don't want to wait until March. That's still a long time. So we know it's early 2025. That's all the details we have. So. And I have been posting on Rumble under Faye Fire. I do have a channel over there if you guys want to go check it out. I've been just posting like the same stuff as I post on my YouTube. I was starting a Yellowjackets watch party series, and I don't know, the universe is working against me. I recorded episode 2 and my microphone wasn't plugged in, so it just really didn't turn out. And then I was like, I don't want to watch episode 2 like right away again, because I'm not going to be able to give like as authentic of a reaction. So I just have been like, oh, forget it. Like I just was like, the universe is telling me something and it's just chill. I'm listening to the universe. Okay. So, all right, you guys. But yeah, check out my Rumble if you want to go over there and support Rumble. It's the exact same format as YouTube. It's just a slightly smaller platform, but really it's getting really much bigger, and it's great. We were talking about the YouTube censorship that has been ramping up more and more throughout. I mean, like my channel has literally been censored for like all of 2024. I've just struggled with it. You guys have heard. So having Rumble as a backup place to post my videos and just to have an alternative platform has been really great. And probably most of the creators that you already watch have their stuff going up on Rumble. So I would highly encourage all of you guys to use that platform, use that app. It's just as wonderful as YouTube. There's just less censorship. They're privately owned, so they are not influenced. YouTube is owned by Google, so they're massively influenced for censorship, what you can and cannot say, what's going to offend people, and this and that. Copyright restrictions and all kinds of stuff. And so Rumble is fantastic. And so I highly recommend, checking out. You can look for your other creators, and there's a whole fresh like catalog of creators for your kind of stuff that you like to watch over there as well. So I don't know of any other Yellowjackets creators over there. I don't know of any I don't know any of the A Song of Ice and Fire creators over there. There are other people that are making that genre of videos, but they are not the same ones that are on YouTube per se. So it's a new catalog, it's new options, it's new voices, it's new things that you can hear. So definitely check it out. Check out Rumble. I highly recommend it. I'm over there, and so is everybody else. So it's a good time. Thank you guys all for being here. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun to get caught up with you and just kind of get back on the something. I don't want to say back on the wagon, the Yellowjackets wagon. I don't know, the Fellowjackets wagon. I've just been in kind of like peaceful, quiet mode since season 2 of House of the Dragon. So this is like what I needed to kind of get me back going. And I will start working on those other projects for you guys. And hopefully we'll be getting the bonus episode, and hopefully we'll be getting the season 3 really soon. I mean, we're at the end of October and it's expected early 2025. So like a couple months. and we're going to have season 3 in our hands. So I'm very excited. Thank you guys all for being here. If you're not subscribed already, definitely subscribe to the channel so you can keep an eye out for all the latest updates on Yellowjackets and all the most up-to-date stuff. And for season 3, Mandy and I will be getting back to doing our Monday morning murder podcast, discussing all things Yellowjackets and the newest episodes on Monday mornings. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, and also make sure and like this video and leave a comment down below just to kind of help boost it. If you want to share it, do anything that you can to help kind of boost traffic back to the channel, and I will get some new content out for you guys really soon. Thank you all for being here, and happy Halloween. Have a lot of fun, be safe, and smash some pumpkins. Smash the like button and smash some pumpkins. All right, Jackie out.